Hunahpu and Ishbalanque, the orphan twin gods, were playing El Juego de Pelota, unaware of the rage they were unfolding. The lords of Xibalba, that brought death, disease, and misery to men, grew angered as the twin brothers played on top of their heads. Just like it happened before, they were about to end the causers of their disturbance. Or so did they thought. They sent an owl to carry their message to the twin brothers. The owl told the lice. The lice, like all other animals, was condemned by the gods to have to partake in the vicious cycle of life and death. And so it was eaten by a toad, who then was eaten by a snake, and then the snake was eaten by a sparrowhawk, who finally got to the twin brothers and told them they had to go down to Xibalba and play El Juego de Pelota with the lords of Xibalba. And so the twin brothers descended through the gloom paths and the rivers of blood until they reached the lords of Xibalba. The lords were anxious to finish their plan, and so they offered to play with their ball, but Hunahpu and Ishbalanque saw through their plans. The bull was tricked in order to kill them, and once they saw their plans, they were ready to go. But the lords of Xibalba offered to play with their bull. Hunahpu and Ishbalanque, reluctant, accepted, and played. They won, but the lords, although angry and resented, were still sure the twin brothers wouldn't survive the tests and torture of the Xibalba. Hunahpu and Ishbalanque got to the first house, the House of Knives, where the lords of Xibalba expected them to be stabbed and dismembered. But the ingenious twin brothers promised the flesh of all animals to the knives, and so they survived. Then they entered the House of the Jaguars. The lords expected for them to die this time, but the twin brothers gave bones to the jaguars as treats to distract them. When they finally reached out, the lords were angry, but certainly didn't expect what was to come. The twin brothers then had to go to the bat's house, where they hid, but Hunahpu went outside to see if it was already morning, and he was decapitated. The lords of Xibalba thought they had finally defeated the twin brothers, but Ishbalanque managed to get his brother's head and put it back in his body, and so the lords were defeated again. Sick, the lords of Xibalba threw the twin brothers to the stake, where they died, and then their ashes and bones were thrown into the river. But the lords didn't know that twin brothers turned into fish and then into men that would amaze all other men by sacrificing and resurrecting each other. The lords of Xibalba, unaware of their true identities, were amazed of their abilities and wanted to be sacrificed and resurrected. But when they were ready to be sacrificed, Hunahpu and Ishbalanque revealed their true selves and swore vengeance for their fathers, who now were murdered for the same reason by the lords of Xibalba, who were finally defeated and covered in snakes, insects, and dirt. Finally, Hunahpu and Ishbalanque turned into the sun and the moon, and every day at dawn they have to descend to face the torments and tests of the Xibalba in order to rise to the sky again.